Okay, welcome back. This is lecture number 22 and we are continuing our discussion on the linear solver and for this finite volume series. And so far what we have done till the last class, actually we have looked at the direct method for solution of the linear system, and under that what we have discussed Gauss elimination, we have discussed LU factorizations, and then some special cases like tridiagonal metric system and pentadiagonal metric system. And now today we are going to start with the iterative process. So what summarized to that, we have these linear solvers which essentially we are solving for f equals to b. One is direct approach, another one is iterative approach. So this is what we have discussed in the previous class, and under direct approach we have done Gauss elimination and LU factorization, and we have looked at how many number of operations one need to do either of these two processes. And what we have seen, LU factorizations requires more number of operation, but it provides you some sort of a better flexibility compared to Gauss elimination process, and this can be used if the coefficient matrix is not changing. It can be also used for the different right hand side vector b. Top of that, we did some discussion on these things because these are going to fit to the or pave the way for our discussion with the iterative solvers. So as we go along with the lecture, we would be able to see how these factorizations or elimination process that which we discussed under the direct approach would be handy for the iterative process. Third, we have talked about couple of special cases, that is the banded system. So under the banded system, what we have discussed is the TDMA, which is called Thomas algorithm, and tridiagonal matrix algorithm, and then the one which other one PDMA, that means the pentadiagonal matrix algorithm, and these are all applicable for banded system. So one case is the kind of 3 elements, other case the 5 elements. So these are for banded matrix that we have discussed. So the essentially when you talk about the iterative process, it is advantageous over direct method because here it is computationally expensive for, especially every time we keep on reiterating the fact for the large system. If you have a small system, then direct or iterative process may not provide you a different overhead, but if you are talking about the iterative large scale system, then this guy, the iterative process, which is very often used in any CFD code, and in naturally this is preferred because it has a very less computational overhead. Now other thing which is important is that there are different kind of or different families of iterative methods, and they can be found in literature, and what we have used as a direct method, they were actually introduced for the sole purpose of clarifying some fundamental processes needed for the iterative method, which I have already said these are the some sort of a platform which are going to be used or invoked while talking about the iterative process. So what we do in the iterative process, so one of the important thing is that how we handle this coefficient matrix A, and there the thing that will decompose that in D plus L plus U, where D stands for diagonal matrix, this is diagonal matrix, and this one for lower matrix or lower triangular matrix, lower triangular matrix, and this is the upper triangular matrix, upper triangular matrix. So, these are the three different decomposition that one can do. Now, when you solve for the f equals to b, so what you are trying to find out, you go in a different physical iteration and you try to find out the next level of phi using the information from previous level. So, it could be physical iteration, it could be spatially, and so that is what one can use to find out the. Now, if you talk about fixed point iteration, in fixed point iteration the decomposition matrix A, which can be decomposed like m minus n. So, my m minus n phi, that would be B, because my original system is A phi equals to B. So, if you use these two information, this becomes that. Now, the fixed point iteration I can write m phi n equals to n phi n minus 1 plus B, which one can rewrite like phi to the power n, or the nth level phi equals to B phi n minus 1 plus C B, where n goes from 1 to like that, and B is nothing but m inverse n and capital C is m inverse. So, essentially from here you multiply it with m inverse. So, this guy becomes phi n equals to B phi to the power n minus 1. That means at the nth level of phi is obtained using the matrix B and phi n minus 1. Now, before moving ahead on the different description of the iterative methods, some minimum characteristics that one should know, and number 1, that is the iterative equations. Iterative equation can be written at convergence as phi equals to B phi plus C B. So, after rearrangement this becomes, so you do the some sort of a rearrangement, it becomes C inverse identity matrix minus B phi equals to B. So, if you compare this one if you compare with your original system, then one can write A is nothing but C inverse I minus B, or alternatively one can say B plus CA is an identity matrix. So, that is one of the properties. So, this relation between the various matrices ensure that once the exact solution is reached, all consecutive iteration will not modify it. Now, the second point is that you start from some guess, let us say phi 0, which is not equals to phi. The method must guarantee that phi n will converge to phi as n increases. Since phi n can be expressed in term of phi 0, then one can write that phi n equals to Bn phi 0 plus summation of I0 equals to n minus 1 b to the power I c b. So, in this particular expression B must satisfy this. So, this is must. B must satisfy this limiting condition. If n tends to infinity, b to the power n must be b into b dot 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 b divided by, so this is n times, must be 0. So, B must satisfy that. So, what does it imply when you have this kind of condition? This implies that the spectral radius of B, this is a term which we have already discussed in our preceding lectures, under the properties of linear system. The spectral radius of B is less than 1. So, this is the condition that it satisfies. Now, this condition guarantees that the iterative method itself is corrective and it is also robust enough to any error which inserted into the solution vector of B. Okay. Now, one can look at slightly in a different insight can be obtained by defining some sort of an error. And now, if you define this kind of error in the solution, then one can say error at nth level is must be phi n minus phi. So, theoretically this error should be minimized or going towards 0 when the solution converges. Now, if you use these things with your original system of equation, then one can write that e to the power n equals to, so previously what we have obtained is that phi equals to b phi plus c b. So, now using this and you write this expression also, you have got this phi to the power n equals to b to the power n minus 1 plus c b. So, using these two, one can write that error could be written as b e to the power n minus 1. So, when it converges, what happened, the limiting condition n tends to infinity, the error must be 0. So, in order to take this expression to some meaningful conclusion, one has to look at the eigenvectors of B. So, the eigenvectors of B are assumed to be complete and to form a full set, meaning they form the basis for, so they essentially form the basis for r to the power n. Now, this being the case, then E can be expressed as a linear combination of the n eigenvectors V of B. So, B has n eigenvectors. So, one can write error is some sort of I goes to n alpha I small v I, where each of the eigenvectors satisfy B v I equals to lambda I b I. Here B are the eigen vectors and lambda are the eigen values. So, one can now write these things. Now, once you combine with this one, e to the power n or the nth level error is equals to b e to the power n minus 1, then combining these two, one can say my error at the first level is b e to the power 0, which is b summation of I equals to 1 to n alpha I vi, which is I equals to 1 to n alpha I b vi, which also can be written as I 1 to n alpha I lambda I vi. Now this is for first iteration. So second iteration, if you move, that means the second iteration level, the error is E2, which is b E1 equals to b I equals to 1 to n alpha I lambda I bi equals to I equals to 1 to n alpha I lambda I b small vi, which is summation of I equals to 1 to n alpha I lambda I square bi. Now this can be continued like third iteration, fourth iteration and so on, and one can finally obtain or show by induction is that, or the finding the spectral radius, you express this one for the nth level. This is summation of I equals to 1 to n alpha I lambda I to the power n small vi. So that is what one can write for n iterative process. So this means the small n stands for the number of iteration requires for this particular process to be or method to be converged. So the for the iterative procedure to converge as n approaches toward infinity, or rather one can think about for a large values of n, this particular process converges and then error gets minimized. All the eigen values should be less than 1. If any one of them is greater than 1, then the error will tend to infinity. So which means my spectral radius of b should be less than 1, because lambda corresponds to the eigen values for that matrix B. Now essentially the convergence of iterative methods can be increased by reducing the spectral radius of the iterative matrix. So B is here the iterative matrix. So this essentially the heart of any iterative process. Now the third important point is the some sort of an stopping criteria is very much necessary for iterative process. So that brings the stopping criteria for iterative process or iterative methods. So which dictates or tells you where to stop or when to stop. So very often people use that based on the variation of the norm of the residual error, like the residual error defined as r to the power n. R is the residual vector, and this error comes as a phi to the power n minus b. So, one criteria is to find the maximum residual in the domain and to require its value to become less than some threshold value or user defined value, small value epsilon. So, for example, one can do like that, the maximum of I goes to n bi minus summation of j1 goes to n aij phi j which less than epsilon. So, epsilon is a small defined or specified value. So, that is one, or one can see or one can find out the alternatively the root mean square residual might be smaller than some epsilon value. So, in that case it could be I1 to n bi minus summation of j equals to 1 to n aij phi j square divided by n less than equals to epsilon. So, either of these criteria can be used for the convergence limit. So, another possible criteria is for the maximum normalized difference between two consecutive iterations which can be dropped below the epsilon, which means or alternatively max I goes to n phi I n minus phi I n minus 1 divided by phi I n, the percentage below some value. So, these are the points for any iterative process or method to have, or rather the heart of this process which needs to be satisfied. Now, said that, we will now move on to the discussion of different iterative methods. So, the first one to start with is the Jacobi method. So, this is again probably the simplest of the lot, and one can solve the linear system by Jacobi method to get the solution done. Now, if you see or graphically if someone represent this, then I can define this one like these are my process. So, which will be like this, and so you have some bandedness. So, this is your phi n, then this minus this is phi n minus 1. So, that is what a graphical representation shows, like that how you get these things, and the equation that we are solving is if phi equals to b. So, you consider this equation and says that if the diagonal elements are non-zero, then the first equation can be used to solve is phi 1, and then the second one is phi 2, and so on. So, the solution process actually starts by assigning some guessed value to the unknown value of phi, and these guessed values are used to calculate the estimate. So, essentially you start with an guess value then you estimate the new value, and then you move on to the iterative process to get and converge solution, and this one you keep on doing till you get the solution is converged. So essentially first level you assume some guess value and obtain the other values in the domain, and then using those value you correct it and check whether the solution is converged or not. So one can write this in a compact form, that at level nth level the j value would be 1 by ai bi minus j equals to 1 to n, where j not equals to I, aij phi j n minus 1, where I goes from 1 to n. So this is how for any I one can find out this process. Now once you get this generic equation, then you can actually form some sort of an matrix, like I can have a 1 1, like a 2 2 and so on, it's in a n n. So this is a diagonal matrix and the rest of the elements are 0, which is multiplied with phi 1 to phi n, plus I can have 0 on the diagonal, and I can have like a 1 2 so on, a 1 n, here a 2 1, a 2 n, so on, a n 1, like that, which is also multiplied with phi 1 to phi n, that is b 1, b 2, b 3 dot dot b n. Now once you solve for phi n, you get phi 1 n to phi n at n equals to this guy, a 1 1, or the diagonal element inverse multiplied with b 1 to b n minus this equation, which is 0 in the diagonals. This will be 1 2 to a 1 n, and this would be a n 1 to, like that, into 1 n minus 1 dot dot phi n minus 1. So that's the term. So the complete matrix is multiplied with this factor. So this is nothing but, so if one has to write this, one can see it's a diagonal matrix, this only the diagonal elements are 0. So if you write in more compact form or in the matrix form, so one can write phi to the power n is minus d inverse L plus u phi n minus 1 plus d inverse b. So that's for any quantity. Now this particular method, or the Jacobi method, it converges as long as it satisfied the spectral radius of minus d inverse L plus u less than 1. So as long as this condition is satisfied, this particular method converges nicely. So, this is the condition for large class of matrices including diagonally dominant ones. These coefficients actually satisfy that. So, they need to satisfy, this condition is that summation of j1 to n I not equals to j a ij less than equals to a ii, where I goes from 1 to n. So, this is the condition that has to be satisfied. Now, second method that we can talk is the Gauss-Seidel method. So, that is the second one, and if one can see, so this is another popular method which can be slightly better than Jacobi because it has better convergence criteria or characteristics over Jacobi, and also it uses less memory. So, memory wise also it is less expensive, and if you see how things done, this is the box you have, you are trying to find out at this level, then this minus this. So, this will have some sort of these things phi n minus some sort of this phi n minus 1. So, that is how graphically it can be represented, and but finally the equation that we are solving for is phi equals to b. So, if you write that mathematically, at nth level phi I equals to 1 by a ii bi minus summation of j1 to I minus 1 a ij phi j minus j equals to I plus 1 to n a ij. So, I goes from 1 to n. Now, this expression, this is in indicial notation. If you convert that one to a matrix form, one can write this equals to minus d plus L inverse multiplied with upper triangular phi n minus 1 plus d plus L inverse into b. So, this is what one can write. So, the effect of Gauss-Seidel method uses the most recent values in its iteration, especially if you look at phi j at nth level when the j is less than I, since by the time phi I is to be calculated, the values of phi 1 to phi I minus 1 they are used, which are the most recently calculated in the ongoing iteration. So, this approach also saves a lot of memory, that is why it can be quickly or less computationally expensive, but other criteria like the spectral radius that must be satisfied for this iterative matrix, which is this, it is less than 1. So, some cases obviously when we say this, still there could be some exceptional cases where Jacobi method converges faster, Gauss Seidel is the preferred one. So that is also possible. Now we move to an important topic which one needs to know while talking about the iterative process, is the preconditioner or preconditioning and associated iterative methods. So that is one thing. So what happens the preconditioning? Why do we use preconditioning? Because that the rate of convergence of the iterative methods heavily depends on the spectral properties of the radius of the iteration matrix B. So the depends or the dependency on rho B, that's a heavily dependent. So what makes it is so that the iterative method can be defined in a better way where you can actually improve its convergence level. So in that way it can be transformed to a equivalent system. So essentially the iterative matrix can be transformed to a equivalent system, and then the equivalent system can be solved, or the transformed system. So that's where the preconditioner come into the picture. So preconditioner is such matrix which actually affects the transformation of the system. So P, which is defined as a preconditioner matrix, one can define as P A inverse phi equals to P inverse B. So what we are doing, we are solving for the equation A phi equals to B, and P is a preconditioning matrix. So once you multiply with that P inverse, both the side of this equation, you get this one. Now this guy will have the same solution as the A phi equals to B, but the spectral properties of this iterative matrix, that is P inverse A, they are different. Okay, and in defining the preconditioner P, the difficulty is to find out that approximate A inverse, but it is easy to convert to find P inverse at a reasonable cost. So we will write the equation. This equation will start with our iterative equation phi n equals to B phi n minus 1 plus C B. That is our starting point of the iterative equation. Now what we will do, we will replace P, or you will be replacing by M, and A equals to P minus N. So what we will do, we will now with P replacing M and A equals to P minus N. So that means basically what we are saying, that M equals to P and A equals to P minus N. So once we use that for the fixed point iteration equation, this equation look like that B phi to the power n minus 1 plus C B, which is P inverse n phi n minus 1 plus P inverse B. Now this is P inverse P minus A, so this becomes phi n minus 1 plus P inverse B. So this one can write that identity matrix minus P inverse A phi n minus 1 plus P inverse B. So residual form, one can write that and that can be written as phi n equals to I minus P inverse A phi n minus 1 plus P inverse B, which will be phi n minus 1 plus P inverse B minus, it would be A phi n minus 1. So, essentially what we are doing from this step to this step, we are just rearranging the stuff. This is identity matrix multiplied with the n minus 1 level of variable, and then you take P inverse A in that side. So, this will become like this, which one can rewrite phi n minus 1 plus P inverse r to the power n minus 1. Here r is the residual vector, which is B minus A phi. Now, from this equation one can see that the iterative procedure is just a fixed point iteration on a preconditioned system associated with the decompositions where A equals to P minus n, where the spectral properties now would be on I minus P inverse A, which must be less than 1. So, this is the property one has to satisfy. Now, if you compare this preconditioned system with two other methods that we have discussed, one is the Jacobi and other case is the Gauss-Seidel. So, if you compare these two with this preconditioned system, one can immediately see for Jacobi method the P is equivalent to your diagonal matrix, and Gauss-Seidel P is nothing but your diagonal plus lower triangular system. So, that is the equivalency one can see. That means, when you define a preconditioned system, the preconditioned system can be also used for the Jacobi method and other methods. So, here the D is the diagonal matrix, L is the lower triangular part of the matrix. So, essentially what one can say that preconditioning is a manipulation of the original system to improve its spectral radius, as we have seen with the help of this preconditioning matrix P used for the associative iterative process. So, one can develop different kind of preconditioning matrices in which the coefficients are quite complex. And now, the other thing one needs to know that the matrix decomposition technique. So, why we need to decompose the matrices? That reason is that one can accelerate, so to accelerate the convergence rate of the iterative process. So, the decomposition helps in turn to promote the convergence rate of the solver. Also, to some extent use or adopt adverse preconditioners. So, we have already seen that preconditioners helps to get a slightly better convergence because of the change in the spectral properties of the system. So, simple but yet a very efficient approach for the purpose is to perform the incomplete factorizations of the original matrix. So, which call the, so there are couple of issues which are very important or for the iterative process. is that one has to improve the convergence rate, because then only you can have faster calculation to be done, and also if you can adapt to a advanced level of preconditioners. So, and the simple way to that, how you decompose the system in incomplete factorizations, or the first one we call incomplete LU decomposition. So, some other way it is known as ILU. Okay. So, this is what, so L here again stands for lower triangular matrix, U stands for upper triangular matrix, and I is the identity matrix. So, one can incomplete ILU factorization of A, and the system that we are solving for is the same, A phi equals to B is performed such that the resulting lower and upper matrices have the same non-zero element. So, the way this incomplete factorization is done from A to this, that they have same number of non-zero structure at the lower and upper half. So, the A can be written as LU plus R, where R is the residual of the factorization process. So, the matrices L and U, they are also L, U, they are also sparse. So, they are being sparse are easier to deal with, and they are obtained from a complete factorizations, but the product being an approximation to A, which will also necessitate to use an iterative solution procedure for this system. And the first step towards that would be writing this original equation in such a form that 0 is B minus A phi, which will also lead to A minus R phi equals to A minus R phi plus B minus A phi. So, now if you get this calculation for different iterative level, so that means nth level, n plus 1th level, n minus 1th level, like that, first, second, third iteration, I can write A minus R phi to the power n equals to A minus R phi to the power n minus 1 plus B minus A phi to the power n minus 1. So, that is what I get. Now, this, if you now you can find out at the iteration level n using the value of n minus 1, such that phi n equals to phi n minus 1 plus some sort of an phi prime n, which is nothing but some kind of a correction factor which are being used. Now, the previous equation becomes A minus R phi n equals to, or phi prime n equals to B minus A phi n minus 1. Once you get phi prime n, then you can use that value to update the phi n. The ILU factorization can be performed using, so this you can perform using Gauss elimination process, while some dropping of diagonal elements at different locations. So, you see what we have discussed for the direct method like Gauss elimination or the LU factorization, they are now again coming back for the discussion or under the discussion of the iterative process, and they play an critical role here, because once you try to do ILU factorization, you can use the Gauss elimination process. Now one also can do the incomplete factorizations like incomplete ILU with no fill in, that means which is ILU 0. This is a typical terminology which is used to demonstrate the incomplete LU factorizations with 0 fill or no fill. So there are different variations of the ILU factorizations which exist in the literature. So again, this is the simplest of the lot. So what happens in ILU 0? ILU 0, the pattern of 0 elements in the combined L and U matrices is taken to be precisely the pattern of 0 elements in the original LU matrices in the original A. So Gaussian elimination or can be performed in the case of full LU factorizations, but in any non-zero elements exist, there you cannot use that kind of Gaussian elimination. Hence the combined LU matrices have together the same number of non-zero at the original matrix A. So with this particular approach, what one can do with that, the fill-in problem that usually arises when factorizations of the sparse matrices takes place, so that in those non-zero elements at location where the original matrix has zeros, they can be avoided. So in the process the accuracy is reduced, thereby increasing the number of required iteration for the convergence, number of required iteration for convergence also high. To remedy to this shortcoming, for more accurate ILU factorization methods which are often more efficient and more reliable. So these are the different blends of ILU factorizations which are devised, and there are what you do in that ILU 0 factorizations assume L to be unit lower triangular matrix for which the same A is used to store the elements of their unit lower and upper triangular matrices, and L and U can be written in that kind of approach. Also in this ILU factorizations of the symmetric, so if you do this for symmetric positive definite matrices, so if it is symmetric positive, it should be mentioned that if you are that the ILU decomposition of symmetric positive definite matrices is denoted by incomplete Cholesky factorization, which is called Cholesky factorization. In this case, the factorizations is done such that L bar transpose equals to A, where L bar is the factorized sparse lower triangular matrix, okay, and preconditioner which is given as P equals to L bar transpose equivalent to A, where P is the preconditioning matrix. Now, that is for a very specific case if you have a symmetric positive definite matrices. Now, if you put the algorithm for ILU 0, what one has to do? This is for ILU 0. You go for a loop where k equals to 1 to n minus 1, first loop starts, then the second loop you go I equals to k plus 1 to n, and you check if a I k not equals to 0, then you do the following. You calculate a I k equals to a I k divided by a k k, which is the lower values, and then you go for another loop for j goes from k plus 1 to n, and if a I j not equals to 0, you do the following calculation for a I j, which is essentially a I j minus a I k multiplied with a k j, which is the upper values. Upper, this is essentially the lower, and that brings back to the closure of first this loop, and then you close back this loop, and finally you close down the third one. So, that is the essentially the ILU 0 decomposition algorithm which you can use. And so, what essentially do, you go from this loop k equals to 1 to n minus 1, then the second loop you check this criteria. This is a very important criteria. If this is not satisfied, even then you go over this loop. So, you are going over the loop, but checking this criteria. If this particular criteria is satisfied, then only you do this calculation to obtain the lower values of the system, and then in the second level of iteration you check this criteria. If that is satisfied, then you finally calculate the upper values. Here U stands for the upper values, L stands for the lower values, and then you close this loop. So, this is how you get the ILU 0 factorizations. So, we will stop here today, and in the subsequent lecture we will discuss the other variant of the iterative process. Thank you.